Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. This is the steering committee meeting for Wednesday, September 12th. We had a private discussion earlier and now we're moving to the public part of this meeting. The first topic is we need to, well, it's an action item that came out of the private discussion, which is we need to review the Code of Conduct Committee Charter as quickly as possible. So now we'll go through the project board that we have. Brandon, do you just, or not Brandon, Aaron, do you just share your screen and then kind of go through it?
Yeah. I think typically I walk through the blocked waiting column first and then the in progress column, and if we have time.
Backlog. All right, cool. So the blocked waiting column,
should probably, so as documentation requirements, I should probably just go like poke Jace or call that never happening, because I have done nothing in the past 2 weeks and I haven't heard anything from Jace on it, and it's really low in my heap.
Okay.
So,
what is this again? Determine how documentation policies are enforced with recommendations needed by SIG docs. Okay, gotcha.
I think he had some, yeah. I think he had some docs that he wanted to get out.
Okay. All right, so steering committee elections. What are we blocked on here? Does anyone know?
We're just, the reason it's sitting in there is because the next actionable thing from us is to actually announce the results. So as far as I know, the election is on track, A-OK, blog post went out, bios have started rolling in. It's nothing really major there as far as I know.
I think the last thing is bios are due this Friday.
Okay, sounds good. On documentation, sunset procedures for SIGs and working groups. Does someone want to give an update on that? Aaron, were you on that thread? I thought I saw you.
Yes, I got to stop being on all these things. So here, I tried to, in going through all the SIG charters, I noticed that we just were like, yeah, SIG cluster ops, that's basically like dead, right? And then I tried to find proof that that happened. And then I tried to find a document that said, well, here's the criteria we use to say we can deprecate SIGs, because some SIGs got retired in the past, but we never really wrote down why. So it seemed like super obvious that this was inactive. And so I wanted to add a note to our SIG charter template. So the list of governance rules that basically everybody just implicitly abides by. And I added something that's like, okay, so if you don't do your duties for 3 months, you should probably retire. And if you don't do your duties in 6 months, you must retire. And I got comments from Quentin on the email thread I sent out notifying people of this, but not on the pull request, which I swear that's what pull requests are for, saying maybe we should think about
Oh man, you're breaking up.
Connection is not being really helpful right now. Okay, how about now? My internet keeps dropping. Basically, do we want to enumerate the list of all criteria for retiring a SIG? I came up with inactivity, just like, are you not meeting? Are you not reporting back to the community? Are you not keeping tabs on things? Suggested additions might be, are you not maintaining your projects? Are you not accepting contributions? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think the only comment that I had with the pull request is that when we actually enumerated what SIGs, working groups, and subprojects actually are, SIGs actually own code. So if there's a sunsetting procedure or policy, we need to at least document it somewhere, or somebody needs to take ownership of that documentation for process. Otherwise, it's really weird, right? Like,
right. So the division of labor there was that we were going to own the why, and then we were going to let our community management subproject own the how. So Sarah and George are going to work on documenting the logistics.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't
make sure everything.
Is that their responsibility to document the how or something like that? I mean, that there's pieces in there where I don't know if we delegated authority or whether or not we should actually write it down and be a responsibility on us to at least write it down and then delegate authority, right, for enforcement. because it's not clear to me at all. Like where are the boundary lines for this?
I would view this similar to the way that Christoph put together a proposal on how a group of people would administer GitHub. And then we looked at that proposal and said, yes, looks good, and granted them that authority. I would assume the same thing here. I don't have time to write that how doc, but I'm totally happy to look at somebody else's proposal for that doc and say, yes, please go do that.
That's totally reasonable to me too.
So that's like, I feel like our decision making and our consensus is important on the why. And I agree that there's probably more things than just organizational duties that could be enumerated there. I figured that we would get to that by spelling out more of the technical responsibilities of the SIG in the charter, because we don't right now. We don't like, there are no freshness requirements or lack of artifact. Could
Aaron, you just broke up a lot for me.
I think I will revert to text. I think I've said enough.
So do you need some more eyes on that pull request?
So I'm not opting to push the rest of that forward right now, unless somebody else here really wants to push those technical things. My next step is to ask Paris and George to write their doc.
But for the pull request with the Y in it, do you want that at least, Murph?
We went ahead and I just did inactivity in an initial pull request. I haven't started a larger pull request. If somebody else here wants to do that larger pull request, I know, Phil, maybe you were looking for stuff to do. And you've already done such good work on the SIG governance template stuff.
Yeah, let's sync up. I can start putting something together.
Okay. I think it's literally just adding a couple bullets and getting us to agree on it.
Okay. You mean in addition to yours?
Yes.
After your pull request? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I just X'd out the project board. I hope someone's taking notes on action items. Okay, where are we on formalizing subprojects?
I don't think there's much to discuss there. Pretty much all repos are now covered. I'm poking SIG architecture to see who should own the new KEP 14 repos. What to do with subprojects beyond that and doing more stuff is TBD. So it's still in flight.
Okay.
I think there is a need for just better documentation around the relationship around subprojects versus projects. I had a PR in flight that I still have to.
So the way I've heard it phrased,
there, you think?
The way I've heard it phrased is there is only one project. It is called Kubernetes, and then everything else is a subproject.
Well, I think the hierarchy that we have is that subprojects nest under SIGs, and oh no, it was working groups that we were going to get details around. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yes, and so to jump ahead to that one, since that's the next item, no, nothing there yet either. If somebody else wants to take it off my plate, feel free. There's a Google Doc that's linked in that issue that Jace wrote, and we have done nothing with it since then. The next step I thought was that working group doc looked good. Let's pull request it. But maybe we have more to discuss since we always have opinions on working groups.
Okay, so should we just ping Brian Grant on an update on that pull request?
But is there a PR on it?
It was assigned to me. If you click through the issues, and then anybody in feel free to like assign it to yourself and actually do the pull request. And
so it's we need to
bad.
take a Google Doc and put it in a pull request. Is that the action item?
Yeah, and I think there's probably some sort of rationalization across a bunch of docs to be done there, but it doesn't seem like it's controversial. So, okay. I want to sign up for it, but I can't say that right now because I'm underwater. But like in spirit, I want to. So yeah.
Okay. I don't have anything right now except for onboarding code of conduct committee if nobody else wants to do it. Philip, what's your question regarding to?
You said formalize subprojects in flight, nothing to discuss. Is it? I thought we were discussing working groups, but
yeah.
Did I get our wires crossed?
No, we jumped ahead to working groups. And yeah, there's nothing much really to discuss on the subprojects. So you have that correct.
Okay, if the action item is just take this Google Doc and then turn it into Markdown and file a PR, I can do that.
Okay, cool. You. All right, just checking chat. All right, thanks for that link, Aaron. Cool. All right. The next thing is codify steering committee liaisons for SIGs into sigs.yaml. Who said there was nothing to discuss? That's what I saw in chat. Oh, nothing to discuss. Cool. Where is that though? Did we do that?
No, it's I keep being behind. So part of it is making sure we have SIG representatives for everything.
Oh, this is painfully slow.
Kind of have done as part of our charters issue.
Next step is to charters, add it to SIG's YAML. Favorite topic. All right. So from what I understand, there are still charters in flight. Oh my gosh, was I just talking to myself for a few minutes? I think I was.
You hiccuped.
Yeah,
all right.
Got you back.
What, thanks. Where did we leave off? Or where
Charters.
Charters, cool. Yeah, do we have any updates on where charters are? I haven't touched charters in a while, so I will make it a priority to do that this week. Aaron, you always have an update on charters. Do you have anything for us this week?
Yes, I have two updates. One, SIG VMware got merged. Great, the phone's ringing. This is going to be awesome. Let me see if that takes care of itself. Cool. Okay, second item is more a piece of etiquette. Tim said he wanted to discuss this during the meeting. So I was reviewing the SIG scalability charter and then kind of was unavailable for a couple days due to offsites and stuff. I'm sure y'all can sympathize. And there were multiple updates made to the charter based on some of my review comments. Tim then additionally reviewed the charter and iterated on it. And then when it looked good to him, he said, okay, cool, go ahead and merge the charter. While I was in the midst of finally reviewing it based on my prior comments. So it felt like it got reviewed out from underneath of me. And I felt like it was really impolite of Tim to merge the charter without first pinging everybody who had previously reviewed the charter to make sure that they were okay with where it was at. And then I pointed out two examples of where I think Brandon's done a good job of generally giving a courtesy like, hey, I'm going to LGTM this in the next 24 hours unless I hear from X and Y. The comment I got back from Tim is that we need to hurry up here. Like we shouldn't have to wait in this charter like every.
That's not my words, and that's why I said I would wait until we had the conversation.
So I'd like to hear.
I'm completely fine with people formalizing some type of process. I think what was written on the original spreadsheet was that there was a primary and a secondary, and then there was the casual observer, right? So the primary was listed as me for that one. The secondary was Quentin, and the non-blocking observer was you. And I totally thought that you had written comments, and I thought you were busy. So Wojtek was churning, and he was doing his level best to try and get something done. Now, I had also not been aware that Wojtek was trying to side channel you and that you were spinning back to it. So I mea culpa for not like double checking, but it was several days, and I knew that he was actively working on it, and I didn't want him to feel blocked because I wanted to give a bias towards action when I knew that a person was actively trying to address the concerns or the comments in a fairly short time. So I do think that we should probably have some informal guidelines, and I think that would be good. And I'm not opposed to that. But also at the same point in time, like we had written down a document which had listed the primary, secondary, and other observer.
Right.
I have a meta question here. How is this different than any other PR? Right? Like, I'm kind of surprised that this conversation is even happening in steering committee.
Exactly. I also agree
because like Aaron, if you have a problem, side channel somebody, talk about it, and then say to Wojtek, like, hey, sorry, I still have some concerns. Please address these things in a follow-on PR.
I did.
I
talked to Tim in private, and then he felt like we needed to discuss this here. For me, it was more like, because these charters are kind of important to get right, and we do have this weird system, kind of unlike other charters, we don't use, like, we can't use owners files to assign certain steering committee members to the PRs to say they are approvers and whatnot, right? We're kind of having to do a social thing and make sure that we have at least 2 steering committee reviewers who have looked through a PR.
well, I was surprised that you were upset by it, I guess, because I thought we would just do a PR process. I didn't know that. I did not know that Wojtek was back channeling you. I didn't know that you were going to review it. I didn't know that you were on the blocking chain. So my apologies there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this is just like a tempest in a teapot, right? Like, let's go back to PR policy, and if people need to make changes, people make changes. Like, I mean, we always said charters were going to iterate forward, that they weren't set in stone. So.
Are you afraid that somebody's gonna be like, haha, I got it in, I'm not gonna change it now, screw you?
Yeah, like, I don't think there's anything like that. Like, I don't think we need to be afraid. I don't think we need to be afraid of, yeah, exactly what you said.
Okay, fair. But so, I mean, I've reviewed more charters, or I've been a part of more charters that have merged than anybody else here. So I have a bias towards action. It was more just like, could we make sure we're polite? That's all.
No, I'm not blaming you either. Just to be clear, I'm not blaming you either, Aaron. I'm just saying, like, accidents happen. Seems like an accident happened.
Yeah, totally. And we addressed that in follow-up. I was just surfacing it here to make sure, does that seem like reasonable PR etiquette to you guys, or am I missing something?
But like, I mean, seriously, if we took on every PR etiquette and steering committee, I mean, we get little enough done as it is, right?
Can we move on? Is this settled?
Yeah,
I think we
have consensus on what the policy is. So if a steering committee member puts a review on the pull request and has changes requested, then we follow up for an LGTM from them as well as the primary and secondary.
That's fine. So in terms of pushing the ball forward here, we're at very few charters that are outstanding and waiting for steering committee review. I think we have 2 left last time I updated the issue. So now, do we need to go through and push SIGs that haven't done their charters to really try and get this done before the steering committee election? Or are we going to continue at the pace that we have been, and whatever happens before the next batch of people comes in happens?
I think it's sufficient to, like, send out another email to the SIG chairs leads group and ask them to submit their charters. I don't think we should force or rush it, but I think that it'd be good to kind of get the next batch in and kind of encourage that.
We finally got ourselves to these points so that, like, doing a charter is really writing scope and then saying, yeah, what the template said, right? I mean, the bar is pretty low at this point, right? Well, we also want folks to enumerate sub-projects, but we have that done at this point also, I think, too. Yeah.
So I took one pass on the SIG scheduling charter. I need to get back and take a final pass, but that one was pretty close. I don't know if Quentin's on. I think Quentin's out, so I won't wait for his review, but I think that one should land this week.
SIG architecture doesn't have a charter yet, too. We should probably get their act together on that.
So we still don't have a vision on what to do. Just that these 2 will be completed soon.
Yeah, I mean, I could ask that the people who are listed in the SIG's completely missing charters column, if you could go reach out to that SIG and ask them, hey, do you think you could do a charter? Might help.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Do we want to assign, like, a person responsible for doing that, or should we just all pick one independently or something like that?
Well, so if you go down to the SIG's completely missing charters section in there, the assigned to primary, comma, secondary column has a link to the spreadsheet, which has the primary and secondary person. We could say it's the primary person's job to go ping the SIG.
That sounds good. All right, it's time. So thank you all for joining. See you next time.
Bye.
Happy Wednesday.